a service of CNC Worldwide.
CNC Podcasts are a service of CNC Worldwide, brought to you by the Greece Chamber of Commerce, providing more than 800 member companies with business solutions since 1984. Atheist Dan Courtney chose the Declaration of Independence as his message before the start of Tuesday night's Greece Town Board meeting. Courtney asked to give the invocation after town officials said they were willing to open up the tradition to other than Christian or Jewish clergy, and Supervisor Bill Rylick said yes. So as more than a dozen cameras and news crews watched, Courtney delivered a message drawn from the paragraph in the Declaration about governments gaining their just powers from the consent of the governed.
This notion that is deeply heretical to authoritarian culture proclaims that it is from the people that moral authority is derived. It is that within us, the citizens, that knowledge and wisdom must emerge. The preservation of this premise does not come from accepting the status quo, but by asserting our rights and exercising our duties.
Courtney says that principle is under assault by an authoritarian culture. He called on Americans to defend it. This was the first alternative message to Christian prayer since the Supreme Court ruled in Greece versus Galloway that local governments have the traditional right to begin their meetings with a prayer. The Greece Town Board also held a minute of silence to remember Deputy Supervisor Jerry Helfer, who died Sunday after a brief illness at the age of 48. A bouquet of flowers marked his usual spot at the front of the meeting room. Retired NFL player Roland Williams says he's going forward with plans for a Rochester Championship Academy, even though City Council bottled up Mayor Lovely Warren's request to fund the program in committee. The Rochester native says his mentorship and sports camp will help up to 500 at-risk teenage boys. Mayor Warren stood with Williams as the city school district announced it's fronting the program with $34,000. Williams also says he's putting his own money on the line and soliciting donations to pay for the rest. He's hoping City Council will eventually approve some funding. Williams is holding the program at Charlotte High School for 2 weeks starting August 4th. New York State is joining a consortium of some 100 manufacturers led by General Electric in a $500 million effort to jumpstart the next generation of electronics components and do it in upstate New York. Governor Andrew Cuomo and GE's CEO Jeff Immelt say the Power Electronics Manufacturing Consortium can make upstate the next Silicon Valley and generate thousands of jobs. New York State's putting in $135 million. The private sector's putting up the rest. The consortium is working with the next generation of semiconductor materials it believes will eventually replace silicon-based processor chips with components made of silicon carbide. They're smaller and more powerful and can run at higher temperatures than anything currently possible. Immelt says these new generation chips will go into everything from solar power equipment to spacecraft. The consortium is based at the SUNY College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering in Albany, but will involve companies and university researchers around the state, including in Rochester. By the way, the governor is coming to the Nanoscale Science and Engineering Center at Canal Ponds Park in Greece. A report from the State Attorney General's office says data breaches have grown costly for New York. Attorney General Eric Schneiderman says data breaches from hackers and ID thieves have tripled over the last 7 years. There have been nearly 5,000 of them in that time. They've compromised 22.8 million personal records and have cost New Yorkers $1.37 billion. Hacking attacks on Target and Neiman Marcus have been well publicized, but Schneiderman says healthcare and financial service companies are also frequently targeted. Stolen credit card numbers can bring up to $45 each on the black market. Stolen Social Security numbers far more. Schneiderman says everyone needs to check frequently to see if their account information is being used improperly. The New York State Police is consolidating its air operations at the Greater Rochester International Airport. The force says it'll move its 13 helicopters and 7 airplanes to Rochester from Syracuse and Batavia. All current jobs will be retained. These aircraft are used in search and rescue and in surveillance missions. Rochester police are looking for a suspect in the stabbing death of a man behind a house on Champlain Street Tuesday morning. Witnesses reported hearing a sudden commotion and running behind the row of houses. They found the victim on the ground. Police say he was a man in his 30s, stabbed a number of times. He was pronounced dead at Strong Memorial Hospital. Your next CNC podcast is whenever you click on one of our pages and catch one. We post updates as necessary. And I'm Bud Lowell, CNC News.